Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. Hope you're doing great. Thank you for taking time off your busy schedules and joining us this evening. I hope this evening's session would be, you'll find it fruitful and engaging, as our topic is very interesting. It is about maintaining inner stability. So it is my privilege today to introduce you to a very special guest, Sister Rita. She's from Boston, United States. Welcome, Sister. So I'd like to give you a little background about Sister. Sister Rita is from Boston, and she has studied and practiced Raj Yoga for more than 30 years. She serves as a coordinator of Brahma Kumari's Meditation Center in Boston. Her service includes teaching Raj Yoga and convening conversations with individuals and groups about integrating spirituality into a practical life. She also served as a founding partner of the MIT Society for Organizational Learning, and also as a founder of the Learning Circle organization. I know that she has been involved in the book that we know, most of us, Story of Immortality. And it's amazing how she has put her heart in it. So I really welcome her. And with this, I'd like Sister to share her wisdom on the topic today. And I'd like to request everyone to join her to welcome to Toronto virtually with a one-wave hand. Welcome. Over to you.
That's very sweet. Thank you so much. I'm really thrilled to have the opportunity to be with you this evening. And as I said, I'm delighted, that each one of you took time out of your busy schedule to be with us this evening. Our topic this evening, is about maintaining stability, inner stability. And as I began to think about the topic, I realized that there was many entry points, many different ways that we could go into this topic. But I thought it would be interesting if we took it up from different levels of entry points. And, one level being that of the physical level, the second being mental, the third being emotional, and the fourth being spiritual. And as I go along, what I hope to do is to just sort of like set the the template, the stage for thinking together with you this evening. And then I'm hoping we have time for questions, and that of course there'll be time for meditation as well. So let's begin by thinking about the physical level. And this may sound like it's unusual to be thinking about an inner stage of stability, starting with the physical, but it's really such an important aspect to take this into consideration. We all know, we've experienced over the last couple of years the chaos of a different way of life. And that chaos of a different way of life has caused many of us to withdraw in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of good things that have happened from that, but there's also a lot of deep work, deep efforts that have been done in coming to learn more about ourselves and how we cope in an atmosphere of the world being as it is today. We have a lot of uncertainty and a lot of vulnerability, expecting the unexpected. But we know that, with cultivation, with taking the time to become aware, we can really set a way of being in the world where we are able to maintain our balance, our stability in every situation, in every relationship. And it just takes a little bit of stepping back and giving ourselves space, giving ourselves time to be able to do that. So, in thinking about the physical level, we have to take such good care of ourselves, especially at this time. And we have to be able to take the time to feed the body right, to eat properly, to sleep properly. And you're saying, oh, but there's no time to do that. But in order to be able to maintain any kind of level of equanimity, any level of stability inside ourselves, if we're not taking care of the physical level, then we're going to end up at some point in some kind of serious trouble that we're not going to be able to remain healthy. So keeping ourselves as healthy as possible, and also having a very clear aim about what our life is all about. What is our aim? What is our purpose? Because from the physical level, when we have that aim, then we have a direction in which we're going to proceed that's going to lead us to a destination that includes, remaining stable as we travel the path, as we travel the road. So, one way of really recharging ourselves at a physical level, is to exercise every day. We know that, but even more attention can be paid when we begin to become mindful about our breath. So at every breath on the intake, when we breathe in, if we take just a second or 2 seconds to experience the peace, and then let the breath go out and in again without a break, without a pause. But when the in breath fills the lungs and we're full, take the pause. So when we stop and we take that second, in that moment at the physical level, we are recharging, right? We are recharging the inner state of being by just a second of peace each time we breathe. So just let's try it once. So we take a breath in and pause, and then out and in without a pause. And then at the end of the in breath, again, we stop and pause again. And you have no idea that how this can actually give life. It gives energy, it gives power, so that we can remain steady and stable no matter what's going on outside of us. Don't forget, we're all breathing. We don't want to stop breathing. We want to breathe. So being able to pay attention and really using this power of our breath, this power of the breath as a reminder to go into that state of recharging the self as we move along. And then, that second level, the mental level. Now, really becoming aware of our thoughts, the way that we're thinking. When we check and we see what kind of thoughts we're having throughout the day, we can then begin to identify the pattern. What are the patterns of my thoughts? Are they pulling me up? Are they helping me to stay calm? Are they helping me to stay stable? Or are they taking me in the opposite direction? So this awareness of every single thought we have, gives us a chance, throughout the day to be checking and making a decision if we want to keep the thoughts that we're having. Do we want to change the thought? Especially when we have, the patterns of the criticism and the judgment of the self, when we're really doing that to ourselves and when we're doing that with others, what we're doing is we are becoming unstable because we're beginning to fluctuate, being lost in the ocean of thought. And that's the last place that we want to be. We don't want to be wasting our time, wasting our thoughts, wasting our energy. Well, because if we do that, there's no way that we can conserve enough energy to remain full, to remain stable in the times when we will need it the most. So taking the time out, at the end of each day to see not just what my thoughts have been, but what's caused my thoughts. Where are they coming from? Why am I reacting, to others? Or where am I reacting? How am I reacting? And to open, my heart and open my mind to really checking as to how can I be thinking differently in this particular situation, so that rather than pulling myself and perhaps the other one that I'm thinking about down, that I'm giving an energy that's going to help me to ascend into a state of inner stability that will be able to stick with me, be with me in a time of need. If I'm tired, if I'm exhausted, it's usually coming from overthinking, obsessive thinking. Have you ever had this experience that you get caught on the treadmill? You're going round and round and round on the tread wheel, thinking of the mouse or the little gerbil going round and round is what I'm thinking of. And we don't want to be there. We want to be the masters of our mind. We want to be able to discern and decide and take the thoughts that are going to help us to remain peaceful, steady, and stable throughout our day, throughout our life. So the physical level, the mental level, but then the one that where we really sometimes get caught is at the emotional level of our feelings. And the emotional level of the feelings, when they start to come, um, again, what we have to do is we have to become very aware of what's happening. So we're checking throughout the day why am I reacting the way I am to something that's going on outside of myself? Where am I getting caught, and how can I free myself to get out of emotional reaction so that I can respond from a place of inner well-being, inner peace, love, happiness, as opposed to the anger and the resentment and the anxiety of all that I'm feeling. So taking the time to check and to really become aware of what's going on from the inside out. Very, very important thing to do. And I'm sure you've all had days that some days, like, you feel you're doing pretty good on the scale of the emotional scale, but then there's other days when you're not doing so well. And so what is it that we can do when we find ourselves to be really off in these times? I think that what we can do is we can take time at the end of the day, or even during the day, to clean our hearts. One time, when I was in India with Dadi Janki, who was for many years was my teacher, many of our teachers, right? Not to speak of being head of the Brahma Kumaris. But what Dottie said, and many of you may remember this if you knew her, she always said that everything begins in our heart, because our hearts are the place where we have the feeling, right? That's where the pure feelings of love and peace and happiness reside. And also the negative feelings, those that sometimes referred to as the vices reside. And so, if in fact we can take the time at the end of each day, or taking time throughout the day, to just check when I'm feeling upset and asking the heart, what's going on here? Where am I coming from? Why am I doing this? Why am I feeling this way? Because we have to remember that our emotions, are vibrations, and our emotions, our feelings, are creating our attitude. And our attitude about the other, our attitude about ourselves, our attitude about the situations, it can really cause negative reactions, right? Because even though we may be speaking sweet words to someone, the truth of the matter is that this nonverbal communication of our attitude is the one that's actually being picked up on. And then the other one will react to us in that way. And and then the spiral of negativity begins to build. And again, we lose our balance, we become unsteady, and we begin to go down as opposed to ascending and remaining strong. So we have to again become aware of not just the physical and the mental, but also the emotional, which can drive us, into places that we may not want to be. So checking and changing there as well. And then the fourth level, of course, is the spiritual level, which is the place where we become aware of our true spiritual identity and where we actually have a chance, if we so choose, to be able to shift our consciousness from that of the limited and step into a space where we begin living our life from an unlimited awareness of ourselves as what they refer to in Raja Yoga as being a soul. So we all know a lot about the human side of us, but what do we know about the being side of us, the human being? Some of us know some things and some of us know nothing. I remember when I first came into this spiritual practice many years ago, I had no idea what they were talking about when they first mentioned to me that there was a level of consciousness, a level of awareness called soul consciousness. And that was, coming to know the identity of the spiritual being that resides within me. And as I, began to learn about that level of awareness, I began to recognize that when we have a shift in consciousness, that we go beyond just knowing myself as a body and coming to know myself as an unlimited being of light, an unlimited being of love and peace and joy. Then in that awareness, I come to recognize that the energy of my spiritual being is spiritual energy. And that when I'm aware of that spiritual energy and using it in my day to day life, I also become aware of what we would refer to as a supreme soul or the source of light, the source of power that enables us to remain um, and maintain a stability in our day to day activities in the physical life. So when we come into this awareness, there's many different decisions and discernments that we can make that will allow us to begin to live our life, being aware of all of these levels, the combination of all of these levels. And with that, we can begin to remain stable more often, and it grows step by step, drop by drop, as we begin these different practices, of paying attention to the breath, checking our thoughts, checking our feelings, right, and then practicing, the discernment and decision making powers of the soul. And then from there, we can take every step of our life with right actions because we're totally aware of everything that's going on at the different dimensions within us. And, this leads us to the connection with that divine source that more or less fills us with power as much as we're able to remember that connection. So, to stop and to remember that you are a spiritual being, and that all spiritual beings have a connection with the divine being, the source, the supreme being. And when we make that connection, we're able to pull that power. And with that power, we are able to maintain such a beautiful energy that gives us strength to face situations no matter what's happening. And I was thinking of different examples that I could share like even from the physical level. So I'm just going back to that physical first level where we can pay attention to, become aware of what we're doing and how we're doing it. I was speaking with a friend of mine today, actually, and she was saying to me, she said, she said one of the things that, and I should tell you that she's in her 80s, if you can imagine, and she's playing golf 3 times a week. She's playing tennis twice a week. She's living a spiritual life, and following a life of spiritual principles. And what she was saying, that even during this time of the pandemic, what she finds is that she has been so energized and so able to remain steady and stable in her day-to-day life, that she feels that she's getting stronger and stronger. And so just that one element alone of keeping ourselves busy, active, and for many of us, to keep ourselves also in service of others is a thing that will help us to remain stable as we move forward. And then, with the thinking about the second level of the mental, of the thoughts, there's so many ways that we can use our thoughts, not just for us, but we can use our thoughts in a way that serve others. Because just like the current of electricity travels through the wire, when we have elevated and positive thoughts, we can send to others who are perhaps in a struggle in their life. And so taking the time each day to stop and send energy, to the other, is another way of creating more stability within the self. Because the more we give, the more we receive. And when I'm talking about giving and receiving, we're giving power and we're receiving power. However, the power that we give, in this mental exercise of thinking and sending vibrations, sending thoughts to others, it's a spiritual practice. It's a spiritual practice. So these levels are not separate, but they need to be integrated so that we can use all when needed, in order to sustain ourselves and to sustain others. And then, of course, with the feelings, the feelings are it's like having pure wishes for others, instead of having bad feelings for others. And you say, well, how in the world can you do that? How can you do that? Well, I can think of an example of someone that I knew for a really long time and felt very close to. And then at one time, all of a sudden, it was as if something happened, that person just turned away and wanted nothing at all to do with me. And I was in this feeling of hurt and sorrow and whatever. And then I decided that, well, no matter what, they're feeling, I don't know what they're feeling, but I'm not going to allow their feelings to drive my feeling. And my feeling had always been that I loved that individual, and that I, wanted to continue to be able to somehow share with them. So what I could do is I could share good wishes. I could share pure feelings with them. And when I do that, not just with them, but with anyone, again, this ability to maintain stability, it comes right into play. And I don't go into a feeling of sadness or loss or whatever. I don't waste my energy in that way, but I constructively use this power, to be able to help um, bring back a feeling of stability within myself, as well as serving the other. And so I'm not sure if I have explained all of this clearly, but I thought that these 4 levels would be a good way of entering into a conversation about how do we maintain stability in our lives. And so, what I'm wondering at this time is to whether or not, any of you have any questions about what I've said so far. Is everyone muted, or will they be unmuted so I could hear if someone speaks? You'd have to unmute yourselves, right? Can they do that?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, you can ask a question. I'd love questions.
You just talked about a friend that you give positive energy and good wishes during your time of meditation. Yeah. When you do that, did anything change in terms of your relationship with her? I'm just really telling from my point of view, because I try to do that for not a friend, but just for the family members. And I'm just wondering, sometimes these thoughts are just for my peace of mind, but does that help with the building of relationships with other people?
Yeah, well, when I do that, and I don't do it just at the time of meditation, if they come to mind, if there's any time that that memory of that person comes to mind, then I just send to them. I just send good wishes, and I've never done it with the intention of that changing their feeling. It was more a way that I could come to peace with the relationship, and by serving that I would say that soul in some way. So it was, again, never with an intention that I was trying to change whatever was going for them, but I wanted to be able to, from my heart, send the love that I was holding for them, with a good wish, and then to let it go. And no, it has not changed. If you're asking, have I heard from that person? I have never heard back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So someone else has raised their hand.
Yeah. Om Shanti, sister. This is Rajan from Toronto. I have a question regarding you spoke about can you hear me?
Yes, could you speak just a little louder? You're a little low.
Sure. Okay. You spoke about the mental health, mental recharge versus the emotional one. I'm trying to gauge there seems to be a subtle difference between those two, because when you spoke about the mental level, you spoke about the thoughts and why I'm reacting. And then the same example was brought about when you're talking about emotional thing, because like why I'm doing this. So it's like there seem to be how do you separate these two? Because one is a feeling. I mean, I know mental one is has something that you are trying to process something, and when it comes to emotional, you are already doing something. You are reacting already. So I'm trying. Isn't it happens at the same time? Like you do something mentally and then you react in the same way in the mental level. Like if you can clarify that, I try to understand that part.
Sure. So just for our purpose of trying to explore this topic of maintaining the inner stability, what I did is I was thinking about the different levels that affect our stability. One was thought and the other was feeling. And so what I try to do is to say the mental I was thinking is thinking, and the emotion is feeling. And so that's the way that I was just discerning for myself. So it may not be accurate. There may be other ways to think about it, but in just trying to present the ideas of how, they are connected. Even all of the levels are connected. One doesn't work without the other. And so, trying to understand, though, that there is, distinction between what's going on in the mind that's just processing the thoughts, the process of thinking about it, and then of course, the thoughts moving to words and the words moving to actions. And then the emotions that are going on at a more subtle level that are actually creating the attitude that we're holding about the person or the situation or whatever. And that attitude the attitude is creating an atmosphere that's going to be felt not just by you, but by the other parties involved in the whatever it is that's going on. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I was trying to get across by separating the two.
Oh, okay, okay, got it. Okay.
Is
The
that
other
clear?
one, the mental wise, you are the one who is getting affected, whatever your thoughts. When the emotions, like the other, there's an outside person is also getting affected. Is that how you?
Right, because it's actually the feeling under the thought that people will, they're not going to hear our thought, right? Our thought is going on inside.
Yeah.
But what, as I understand it, the attitude is really something that moves by itself. It moves so quickly. And you go into a room, and when someone's really angry and they come in and they're smiling and they're trying to be polite, you have no question about what they're really feeling, right? You can tell immediately when you're in the presence of someone who's not has an incongruence between what they say and what they feel. And it could also be what they say and what they think. But the deeper level, is attitude.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, sister.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? So, since you're not going to ask me questions, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask you questions. So, what are the methods that you use when you find yourself in a situation that is causing you to think about it over and over and over again? What do you do in times like that? How are you able to go beyond it?
Before I joined the BK family or the knowledge, like the Gyan, like I used to blame the other people for the situation. Now, of course, now I blame myself because I am the cause of all my thoughts and feelings. And like that is the mantra that I do that, and I console myself. It's all about me. It's because of me only, all these things. So that way, I don't blame that person or group of persons. Like that way, like I'm fine. That way I overcome and I sleep well, if I put it that way. Because I'm the cause of it, right? So I blame somebody else.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of courage to
I have.
It takes so much courage to really face the fact that the situations we find ourselves in life that are making us unstable, many of them we cause ourselves, and yet, of course, in today's world, there's a lot of situations that we're not causing. That it's that the commons are causing it. That's coming from the collective karmas that are causing it. But there's many situations in our life that we're doing something that we don't realize what we're doing. So this is why the awareness of each of these levels is so important, because as we become aware of each of those levels, we have the divine intellect within the being, within each of us, where we have the opportunity to make a choice, of whether or not I want to continue with my reactions as I have been reacting perhaps for some time, or do I really want to learn how to respond from that higher elevated level of awareness of becoming who I truly am, a being of love, a being of peace, a being that has the inner power, the inner strength to really to take that high road, and to allow ourselves to become an example in life to our children, to our, to all of our families, to our friends, to our colleagues, and that it requires effort. I remember when I first came to the study and practice, and you have to remember it was over 30 years ago, and it was so interesting for me to see others who had been able to create their lives in such a way that you could feel the peace when you came in touch with them. You could feel the love. And some of the seniors who were that I met, had the fortune of meeting, and many of us have met over the years, they were just such an embodiment of that level of, I would say it was like a level of purity, and you could feel God's presence through their eyes. And I would say to myself, and actually one day I to Dottie Jenke, I was doing some kind of we were filming something for her a long time ago. And I was fixing something on her lap, and I whispered to her, I said, Dottie, when I grow up, I'm going to be just like you. Now, I mean, I was already way grown up, but I just felt that having seen examples of people who have made the choice to live a different type of life, to live from truth, to live from that innate feeling of love and peace, and to bring that into our homes and to bring it into our life. It was amazing to me when I worked with this group that was mentioned earlier over at the Learning Center. I never spoke of what I was doing. Like, I never mentioned that I had taken up this spiritual practice and what I was doing, because I was in an educational institution and we don't talk about spiritual things there, they would say. But I had no desire to speak of it. But what was really amazing was the conversations I ended up having with people who could feel, I mean, maybe it was that they could actually see a change in me, but day by day, year, month by month, year by year, I began to grow and change. And of course, we still go back, and none of us have reached that plateau yet. But I feel in my heart that this cleaning of the heart every day, there's nothing more important, because otherwise you're traveling with baggage. It's like you can either have a backpack on that's full of virtues and divine powers that you can pull on through your life, or you have a backpack, of these other qualities from your old way of being, and that you can pull on. But you by cleaning your heart, you're also cleaning your intellect, so that when it comes to a moment in time that you have to make a choice as to whether or not to react from my old world backpack, or my old ways backpack, or my new backpack of pulling forth those virtues and qualities, you can do it in a second. You can make the choice. And this is why, Dottie Jenke always used to say, do what's right. Do what's right. And it doesn't mean if that's at the physical level, the mental, emotional level, or at the spiritual level. If we do what's right and we continue to clean and clear, we come into then a space, a clearing that allows our authenticity, that allows our original nature, our own specialties to emerge. And we have no more need to compare ourselves or to compete. We just need to be the being, the human being who's living from the space of knowing the original true self. And from there, we can live a life of service, a life of living from our hearts, and dancing in the joy, as well as suffering a little bit through the whole effort making process, but living in the joy of being in such a deep connection with the divine source, that we live from fullness. We no longer have needs because we're content. I never thought I'd see the day. My whole life was spent in an environment of living in the question. What is the question you're living in, right? It was the question people, especially when we were with the MIT group, what question are you living in? And then finally one day, when I was in India, and I was there as a guest. I was invited to come as a guest, and this is why I got to spend a little bit of time with Dadi Janki. And she took me up on her porch by her little room in Pandit Bhavan, which is the main campus of the Brahma Kumaris. And she said to me, uh, "Okay, Rita," because she sent the translator away, and she spoke in perfect English. She absolutely amazed me when she did that. She said, "Okay, Rita, this is your chance." She said, "You can ask me any question you'd like to ask." And I sat there and I looked at her and I thought, I can ask any question I want. And I turned around to her and I looked her right in the eye and I said, "Dadi, I have no questions." And she went, "Very good." so, getting to that point where you come to know whatever it is you need to know, no matter what path you choose to be on, no matter where you are, but you come to know your own truth. And as you begin to know your truth, you can live from that. And if your aim and your purpose in life is to live as an elevated, person, as one who can give and serve, you can become that. And some people, I'm going to stop soon because I know I have to watch the time here. Some people, they think their aim and purpose in life is to become happy, but their pursuit of happiness takes them, they start thinking earning money is going to bring them happiness. So I'm going to work harder and harder, and I'm going to get that happiness when I have this much money. And what happens is they totally lose their balance because they've gone after their aim and objective, and they haven't remained in balance to enjoy their life while they're pursuing their aim. So this physical awareness of what we're doing and why we're doing, very, very important. This mental level of knowing of what we're thinking and where those thoughts are coming from, and whether or not we want to keep or change the thoughts. And, with the feelings, to make sure that our feelings are pure in every situation. No desire, nothing about us. It's about being able to live as a giver as opposed to a taker, which is a whole other topic that I won't have time to go into tonight. But then, of course, living at this level of spiritual awareness. From there's no limit. We just become what they would call a nimit, an instrument in service of the greater good. And that to me is how we maintain stability from the inside out. Om Shanti. So I thought at this time that we would take some meditation. Am I right? We just have to 7:25? Yeah. So we have a few minutes that we can do some meditation. And I don't know if you have a little music that you can play in the background and I can speak a commentary. And if not, I can just do without. Okay, so taking a few breaths in, pause, out and in. And turning my attention inward. Slowing down my thoughts. And stepping in to a space of silence. Where I feel the flow of my thoughts and feelings. In harmony in peace. And with one elevated, pure thought, I connect with the one the seed of the human world tree. The divine light of love. And I open my heart to receive the inner power the inner peace and pure joy. From the divine. If other thoughts come, just let them float by. Bringing my attention back to this divine connection. allowing my heart to be cleaned, cleared from the past, as I remain in the presence of the unlimited light of love. My mind becomes steady and stable. Knowing that at any moment, with just one thought, I can create this connection and become stable. I become peaceful. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, sister.
Om Shanti.
That was really beautiful sharing. And even I felt that your voice was very soothing as you were sharing with us. And I really enjoyed your personal experiences that you shared about Dadi Janki.
Great.
And I'll be taking with me tonight. Everything was really good. But the point that I'll be taking with me tonight would be that we should be checking and cleaning our hearts, and cleaning our hearts at the end of the day as to why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, I guess. Like you said, it will also clean our intellects. So thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. And I would also like to thank all of you who joined us this evening. And now we'll be ending. So there'll be a slide. So feel free to take a picture of the slide. It has our upcoming programs on it. And we'll be ending with a song. So have a great evening, everyone.
Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, Gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, 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 I'm so grateful. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, 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 so grateful, so very grateful. I'm grateful. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below